In keeping with an announcement I made early last month, this evening's Plain Talk brings to an end a program I started some 2 decades ago. At times, it has been fun, at other times, challenging, but always interesting. I need to thank all those persons, those who admired the program as well as its critics, who have made it such an experience. But before thanking them, I feel I owe some explanation and comment for my decision to end the program. There is no single reason, although a steep increase in recording costs is certainly a factor. Unfortunately, Guyanese, or at least it seems the majority, want democracy but are not willing to accept that it comes with a cost. The idea behind Plain Talk was to highlight issues considered of importance to the public and hopefully bring about positive changes. Over the period of 20 years that Plain Talk has been going, there have been a number of positive developments. Economically, we have seen substantial growth. Poverty has been reduced, but the income and wealth gap have widened. On crime, the situation is still pretty bad. Now, from the feedback I've received, the program's limited success has been more a negative one, highlighting some of the weaknesses and threats to our democracy and our rights. 21 years after the dawn of a new era came upon us, we struggle to explain how we can claim to be democratic and yet cannot have an ombudsman and a public procurement commission when the Constitution says there shall be an ombudsman and there shall be a public procurement commission. The courts, the guardian of our Constitution, are themselves inhibited by a dysfunctional system. They're slow, costly, unpredictable, where money and luck might sometimes trump justice and law. The labor unions are in disarray. Some of their leaders, the head pigs in Animal Farm in a political kingdom. The state media practice blatant discrimination, and public funds are diverted and misused with impunity. While corruption is rampant, there is no integrity commission, and the Access to Information Act seemed to have been designed to be ineffective as the Financial Intelligence Unit set up as a watchdog under the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2009. This month makes 2 years since the people of the country sent an emphatic message to the politicians that the political domination by one class and essentially one group over another must end. That, to use the famous words of the late Dr. Cheddi Jagan, winner does not take all. Yet all around one turns, there is the constant lament. Things are hopeless, that the government and our politicians have failed the people. The PPP, once the champion of the working class, introduced under President Barry Jagdeo a criminalized plutocracy that has systematically exploited Guyana under the guise of development. If we have not gone over the cliff, we are not far from it. Let us not, like lemmings and sheep, refuse to heed the dangers ahead. Let us say that enough is more than enough. Let the good people of the PPP, the PNC, the WPA, and the rest of society act as Guyanese to realize the dream that came in 1992. There was universal condemnation of the 1980 Constitution that institutionalized dictatorship in Guyana. Yet 21 years after the dawn of the new democratic era, that Constitution remains firmly in place. Calls for reform, if not repeal, of that Constitution sound like those of John the Baptist crying in the wilderness. Now, an evening of despair seems to be returning to our land. Owners of television stations are afraid and threatened if they allow access to persons and politicians considered enemies or unfriendly to the ruling class. Professionals are afraid that if they speak out, they would lose the business that the government passes their way. Business persons would cry corruption and still hand out millions in corrupt political donations and stay clear of Transparency Institute lest they be tarnished. Many of them claim that they look forward to Plain Talk but are unwilling to appear on the program. One even suggested that I could change the format into a shorter program in which I do the talking. People want to see Plain Talk, it seems, but not to be seen on it. They want a monologue, not Plain Talk as it was intended to be. So, as I bring the curtain down, whether as an intermission or final call, I must say thanks to those who made the program possible during its many years. As you will expect, they are too numerous for all to be named, and no disrespect or ingratitude is intended by omission. To the staff of Raman McRae who helped to make the arrangements with the guests and with the recording studio, and the staff of Channel 6, especially Tyrone Ali and David, I say thank you. My niece Sita and my late mother, for whom Plain Talk was an obligatory event and who were an inspiration, even their warnings to be careful. I will now have to find another way to stay in touch with my niece and relatives and friends abroad who invited me into their living rooms every week. My informal focus group, including Mr. Jason Ryan, Ms. Lila Kassoon, Jeffrey Murray, and Ann Yu, who generously viewed the program and gave me their sometimes brutal feedback, which helpfully served as my standard. I hasten to add that they are in no way responsible for the many shortcomings in the program, which have always been mine. To the persons who accepted my frequent invitation to be my guests, and here I must mention Dr. Melissa Eiffel, Dr. Henry Jeffrey, Messrs. Ramon Gaskin and Freddie Kassoon, and Dr. Janet Bulkan, who never sought an excuse to decline. A special thank you to Channel 7 and its operator and its owner, Mr. Rex McKay, Senior Counsel, for having given me generously free time, airtime to broadcast the program every Sunday for several years now, something other stations are afraid to do, even when paid. And most of all, to you, the viewers and members of the public, including Tony Prince and Earl John, for your indirect participation and of whose presence I was always conscious. One must never say never, and it is possible, just possible, that the program will return someday. Whether or not it does, let us hope that the exalted and overriding objective of the program to contribute to the advancement of Guyana in all its facets will indeed be realized. I thank you very much and good night.